TG Geeks, episode 277, June 8th, 2020. Action-packed Showgirls. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre. You name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, hot Phoenix, Arizona, where we're still inside.
And I'm Ben Raggington, coming to you from TG Squared Studios. It is now day 3,000 and something of the month of June.
Exactly.
That's what it feels like being here in quarantine in Phoenix, Arizona.
Let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we have got Jeffrey McHale. He is a film director, and he's going to tell us about a new film he had that's kind of a documentary retrospective of the Paul Verhoven movie, Showgirls. So we'll talk to him about that. We have our birthday shout-outs, featured podcast of the week, everybody's favorite feedback, and regular shout-outs. In our second segment, we've got a special comment, and then we'll have our weekly recap and shout-outs. So let's get on with the interview right now. And this time we welcome to the microphone and our show, Jeffrey McHale, who is a director and filmmaker. Welcome to the show, Jeffrey. Do you want?
Hey, thanks for having me.
You want Jeff or Jeffrey?
Jeff's fine. Jeff's fine.
Okay.
Everyone calls me Jeff.
I know some people are kind of finicky about that. They want their full name, so that's okay. Tell us, who is Jeffrey McHale, and the elevator pitch if you're going to the top of the Eiffel, or not Eiffel, the Eiffel Empire State Building, the elevator pitch of your life and how you got into filmmaking.
Nice. Jeffrey McHale is, he's a husband, a father, and now a filmmaker. I am a television editor by trade. I did go to film school, and I've been making movies all my life, ever since I was a small, young gay boy growing up in the suburbs of Detroit. But I moved out to LA after going to film school in Chicago, and started a very nice, fun career in television editing. And I wanted to kind of explore my fascination with Showgirls, and that's what kind of led me to make this film, You Don't Nomi.
Interesting. And that's Nomi.
Nomi.
At least that's what came across to us. You Don't Nomi. That's kind of a neat little take on that. So for those that may not know, what is Showgirls, and what is that fascination with it?
Why is it so infamous?
Well, infamous or famous, one or the other, depending on your point of view.
Because I've never seen it, but all I've heard is lots of talk about it. So what's the story behind it?
Oh my gosh, you've never seen it. Wow. It was a 1995 film. It was one of the first big NC-17 films put out by a major studio. It was Paul Verhoven, who had recently come off a very successful Basic Instinct with his screenwriter Joe Esterhaus. They teamed up again, and they made a musical set in Las Vegas, and they, like I said, they had the blessing from the studio to make this NC-17 film. Verhoeven expressed a lot of frustration about getting Basic Instinct down to the R rating, and he was given the green light, and they basically had a blank check, and they made what Verhoeven says as a highbrow musical about Las Vegas showgirls, and it opened to terrible reviews.
Oh dear!
Obviously, there were lots of nudity, lots of vulgar language, and lots of laughs, and it was pretty panned immediately and rejected by kind of mainstream audiences. And it didn't take long for cult following to kind of build and coalesce around the film, and we've been talking about it and kind of celebrating it and trying to kind of figure it out ever since. And so I wanted to kind of explore the afterlife of it and how we live with this kind of complicated and interesting film in our film history.
Right. So I would assume then that you are a Showgirls devotee. Or cultist, or what?
Cultist.
Wow, devotee. I'm sorry, I was speaking out loud. That was not my inner voice.
No. I'm very much a fan. Yes. I approached it from a fan perspective, but I also wanted to have kind of an honest and critical look at the film, because obviously there are a lot of things that make the movie complicated for a modern kind of respectable, intelligent movie going audience, and so I wanted to kind of have this a real look at the film and the different ways in which it is being looked at and talked about.
Interesting. So, was this a crowdfunded film, or did you seek funding from individuals or a studio, or what?
Yeah, so I started this, in the beginning I didn't really know it was going to be a documentary that I was going to make. I just started reaching out and talking to all the contributors who kind of shaped the afterlife of Showgirls. And so I was really inspired by other films about movies, specifically Room 237 and Los Angeles Plays Itself. And, they're very, audio heavy, commentary heavy, kind of film essays, and so that kind of inspired me. And as an editor, I knew that was something that I could do on my own free time and just kind of try to figure it out myself. So one of the beautiful things about this was, we didn't shoot a frame of video. So in the beginning, I didn't have to raise any money to get started. I was able to essentially only needed to kind of invest in audio equipment to send to the contributors. So I basically shipped an audio kit to each one before our interview, and then had a conversation over Skype. We were looking at each other, through the computer, and then after our 2-hour conversation or whatever it was, they boxed up the audio kit and mailed it back to me. And, from there I transcribed all the interviews and started editing. So that production part was relatively inexpensive, which kind of allowed me to kind of play and make the movie that I wanted to make.
Wow.
And so it wasn't really until after the film was, a solid cut that we started submitting to festivals. We submitted to South by and Tribeca first, and Tribeca was actually the first one we heard back from, and we got into that. And after that, then we were able to kind of raise the rest of the money needed to finish the film. So we had kind of like 3 months to raise money and get all the, and make it pretty, I guess you could say.
Cool. So your editing skills, not only video, but also, I guess that translates to audio as well, fairly seamlessly, were really put to good use.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, if I wouldn't have been able to afford anybody to do what I did, I did, it was just, obviously working on my free time, and it was one of those things. It was a personal project, so I wasn't quite sure in the beginning what exactly it was going to turn out like. Obviously I had an idea of what I wanted to make, and then but once you start talking to everybody and like the story kind of begins to reveal itself, and then we're kind of incorporating all of Verhoeven's other films into the mix, and I kind of everything was pointing in one direction to me, and so yeah.
That's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the things that just really floored me when I discovered that Verhoeven actually made this film, because my introduction to him is all these very violent action films, sci-fi action films. You're talking Total Recall, RoboCop, Starship Troopers, and then all of a sudden to come around and to do something like this is so out of the norm and completely unexpected. I mean, was there anything that kind of came out during the research and interview with people that kind of gave an idea as to why did Verhoeven decide I want to make this kind of movie?
Yeah, and I mean, he was always in one of the things I started with was obviously his book of essays. Verhoeven wrote a pretty long, beautiful picture book of the production of Showgirls, and he describes kind of some of his motivations and how he approached the project. And he said he always was in love with the classic MGM musicals, so he was really fascinated by the opportunity and the idea to make one of those. And part of the process for me was going back and watching a lot of his earlier works, and just like you, I mean, I had only known him through those sci-fi action blockbusters, and so and as most American audiences too. So I think that's why Showgirls feels so weird to most of us. It just doesn't fit in. It doesn't feel like it fits in to the rest of his work. But then once you look at all the rest of his European films, all these motifs and themes and kind of visual cues that make the things that make Showgirls kind of strange and weird and hilarious show up all the way throughout his other works. And so, I mean, that was just kind of very, very, very surprising. So from there, I just, it would be impossible not to comment on that. And that was kind of like the guiding thesis is, this Showgirls is uniquely Verhoeven.
I mean, when I hear that he's making a musical like this, especially as NC-17, I'm thinking, okay, I mean, will they be dancing and heads blowing up during the same time? I mean, that's the only conclusion I can come to.
Oh, that was funny, because one of the things he actually said afterwards was that the film Showgirls would have probably been received better by American audiences if there was some sort of serial killer aspect to it. So even afterwards,
dang it, I missed the boat on that.
Post mortem, inside his own, he kind of went there. It's like, oh well, should have had a killer, should have had more dead bodies in it. And,
dismembering all over the place. I mean, his movies are ridiculously. I mean, the ones that he's famous for here in America, they're wildly violent. I mean, they're shockingly violent in some cases. So that's why I find, why to go and turn around and do a musical like this. I mean, I appreciate the fact that he has such a love for the classic MGM movie musicals. I mean, that certainly shows a different side to him that none of us here knew. But when you associate Paul Verhoeven with like people's heads being shot off, I mean, it just becomes there's such an incongruity when you try to picture him working on a musical without there being violent death and lots of blood.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that was one of the things. Obviously Verhoeven is considered, widely understood as a satirist, and critics could have responded to the satirical elements in those blockbusters in the sci-fi pictures, and they could see it. But when it comes to the sex and commenting on American culture, that a lot of people had issues with it or didn't respond to it in the same ways, and it took 20 years for people to kind of start having those conversations about the film.
Well, we've had multiple sexual revolutions in this country. So
yeah, but the thing you just said something that kind of sparked my mind there. Is Showgirls a satirical statement?
I mean, yeah, I believe so. Yes, I do. Yeah, I mean, because I think it would be hard to look at his body of work as a whole and think that he's not incorporating that into Showgirls. Because I mean, he's clearly, making those statements in his other films. So why would he skip over, those themes for Showgirls? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a satirical. I mean, he's even said it is a gritty. He wanted to kind of put a mirror up to society, specifically American society, and kind of show the realities of it. And I think a lot of people really weren't ready for that at the time, and we were responding to it in a different way. And I think a lot of the cult status and the queer sensibilities about it, I think we're drawn to it in a different way from what he kind of originally intended.
Interesting.
Was there during the course of putting this film together, because that's one of the things that I really love about learning in documentaries is discovering things that people just did not know. And we've talked to a number of filmmakers who have made documentaries, and many of them come out and say, "Oh, I had no idea about this." And in many cases, they learn about things that just never really manages to fit into the final product. But were there things that you discovered about not just Paul, but maybe elements of the cast or how the film got made that just kind of nobody ever found out?
Yeah, with this, I didn't set out to make a kind of your traditional behind the scenes making of, and so after kind of diving into the afterlife of it, like I mostly wanted to focus on that. And so I in the beginning I was like, is there enough here? Is there enough to make a film about the way a movie has lived for 25 years? And one of the surprising things is yes, there is, because there isn't one definitive take or one definitive read on Showgirls. It's a complicated movie, and even people who love it and adore it, still have very, very, very strong issues with a lot of the things in it, and it's one of those things that could not have been made again. I don't think a movie like Showgirls could ever get made again. Not to say that there won't be camp or cult films, because those I think there's still a chance for us to have camp films in the future. But a film like this is unique. The things that make it, the things that we're drawn to, are unique in the sense that we're drawn to it because of those failures. It succeeds because of those failures.
Interesting. Yeah, so, and that's kind of the formula for cult films is they fail, and then all of a sudden they have this completely different life and another life, and that's always fascinated me how that happens. And I guess it's when people see the film and they appreciate it for what it is instead of the, listening to the critics or who are critics just to be critics sometimes. So, yeah,
and it'll be interesting to see just kind of where the conversation around Showgirls goes next. I don't think I could have made this movie 10 years ago. We were having different conversations then, and 10 years, into the future, there'll be different things we'll be dealing with as a re-released in society.
In 10 years.
Different. What'd you say?
It'll be re-released in 10 years.
Yeah, there you go.
The 40th anniversary of Showgirls. It's re-released.
Go ahead, please.
But the interesting thing is, I still think we'll be talking about it. It's one of those films that, even like most good films, a lot. I see them once, and I don't necessarily need to see them again. Right. And so you look at what the types of films that people will, and not just that we'll be watched and enjoyed, but it's one of those movies that I think will still be debated.
Right.
I'm wondering if this is a movie that might actually be so far ahead of its time that it might take another 10 or so years in order for audiences to finally catch up and be able to appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we're there in that sense. But when if you say like ahead of its time, then I guess there would be some layer of intention with that, or like he was kind of operating on this other plane, where I think that the reason we're still talking about it, and the reason we will talk about it, are these kind of unique ways, this failed seriousness of it. It will be discussed because of those things. Yes, there's a lot of interesting things about the mythology of Showgirls. With, like I mentioned, just Joe Esterhaus and Paul Verhoven kind of working together on Basic Instinct, and then kind of having this green light to do C-17 film, and the reviews. I mean, the ways in which the film was rejected and discussed and ridiculed and mocked, and all of that kind of works into the allure of the film. So that's.
So
go ahead.
You have done the circuit with film festivals, obviously Tribeca. What any other bigger film festivals that you have done? I mean, big film, not bigger than Tribeca, but the big ones like South by Southwest or Toronto.
It's I mean, the film's gone all over the world. The ones that I've been able to go to, we went to BFI in London, which was awesome.
Oh wow!
There's a huge kind of Showgirls following out there. We screened at the Prince Charles Cinema, which I guess I was told it was the perfect venue for this type of thing. When you show up to the theater and you see posters for The Room and Death Becomes Her along the wall, I'm like, oh, okay, like this is the spot where we need to be watching this. So that was fun. We screened at Sitges in Spain. We screened at Fantastic Fest in Austin, which was an absolute riot. They really embraced the film in a surprising way. I mean, Fantastic Fest was a kind of a horror cult genre festival, right. And they had like a brown rice and veggie eating contest before the film. And they did a live kind of script read with the script with all women and Peaches Christ reading the role of Crystal Connors. So I mean, it's been amazing, the whole kind of festival.
Fantastic. So I guess the next question is, first question is, what's the plan for this film now for your documentary? I mean, is there going to be an imminent release so that people, the rest of the audience can see it?
Yeah, we are releasing finally on June 9th. It'll be available on demand, anywhere where you can kind of rent and buy movies. And then Blu-rays, I think, will be coming in July. But yeah, I mean, for your American audiences, we have a release. We got picked up in the UK and Canada, France. So she's slowly making her way around the world.
Cool. Fantastic. And if people want to learn more about you, what you're doing, because I'm sure you've got other projects that you're going to be wanting to work on as soon as this is done, and as soon as the Great Pause is finished. I mean, is there any social media presence by which they can follow you on?
I'm on Twitter. Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is just Jeffrey McHale. Instagram, I think, is McHale's Navy. And then you can follow You Don't Nomi film on both Instagram and Twitter. That's where you kind of see all the updates.
Far out.
Nice.
This has really been fascinating. I learned something new. We'll have to go find Showgirls now and watch it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Ben. Yeah.
This is C.A. Hartman, author of the Core Valley Chronicles series. You're listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
Well, that was a fascinating interview, and now you understand what action-packed Showgirls is all about.
And also kind of gives a little bit of insight into the mystique behind that movie, because I think it's as you were saying earlier, I mean, it's achieved a sort of cult status almost, only because it's regarded as being so bad. Yeah.
Anyway, we have a few selected birthdays for June 8th through June 14th, 2020. June 8th, Jerry Stiller, actor, just died in the 15th of last month. He was would have been 92 or 93.
He was
92.
Yeah, he was married to Ann Mara. They were quite the comedian power couple.
Exactly.
Mara and Stiller, and they produced Ben Stiller, who is really making waves in his own way today in the business.
Yeah. They were on the Ed Sullivan Show 36 times.
I believe it.
And Jerry Stiller made 11 movies with his son, Ben Stiller. And he was in both Hairspray films.
That's right, he was.
Frank Lloyd Wright, architect. Designs were called organic in nature, and he was the pioneer of the Prairie School movement. And in my mind, the arts and crafts movement of California, or the architectural style arts and crafts, most noted in the Yosemite, the lodge there. Mm-hmm. And my sister Lynn worked in the Price Tower in Bartlesville.
Right.
It was the 8-sided building. And we have quite a few Frank Lloyd Wright homes and buildings in Arizona, Taliesin being, the biggest of them. And we saw an opera last year called Shining Brow about Frank Lloyd Wright. Joan Rivers, comedian, larger than life.
Can we talk?
Can we talk? Yep. And most noted for her self-deprecating humor, especially about her cosmetic surgery.
Oh, yeah.
and others, people's. And some would say caustic humor.
Oh, very caustic.
Oh, my gosh. If you didn't like her, or if she didn't like you, you knew it.
Yeah.
If she did like you, oh, boy.
She would say things to people on the stage. I mean, she would mock them. I can't quote the entire thing because it's filthy, but like she sees this one woman out in the audience and she says, "Oh, you're engaged? Let me see the ring. Let me see how you did." And she showed. And says, "Oh, you're not a Jew. You're a Jew, and you took that crummy ring."
Yeah,
I cleaned it up.
Anyway, and then we have Colin Baker, actor, Doctor Who. He was a roommate of David Troughton.
That's right,
and he became the best man at his wedding. And he's the only doctor to have been fired. There was some crazy circumstances around
and
that.
It was not entirely his fault either.
No, I mean, John Nathan Turner was ill and on his way out.
But there was also the strike.
And the strike.
The BBC strike really screwed him up.
2 new people came in to BBC and hated science fiction.
That's right. So, well, the guy who was running the BBC at the time when they went on strike, Michael Belgrade, I think was his name was, he also hated Doctor Who and was doing anything in his power to try and get rid of it. And unfortunately, Colin wanted to just play the part for as long as possible.
Right.
But that strike really screwed the whole thing up. So now he's happily doing Big Finish audios for of Doctor Who stories.
Yep. And then we have Robert Preston, actor, in Music Man, in S.O.B., Last Starfighter, and I think my favorite film of his, Victor Victoria.
Oh, Victor Victoria, absolutely.
And in the 60s, he recorded, or I think late 50s, early 60s, recorded a bunch of exercise videos as Chicken Fat. Go, you chicken fat, go.
No.
Yes.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yep. June 9th, Michael J. Fox, actor, Family Ties, all the Back to the Future movies, has Parkinson's. 1991 was when he was diagnosed, and he revealed that in 1998 that he had Parkinson's. And the J is just a J.
It's just a J. It's not a name.
You know why?
Probably because there's somebody else named Michael Fox out there, I'm guessing.
Well, but why he chose J?
No idea.
It's an homage to Michael J. Pollard.
Oh.
So,
how about that?
Interesting. Cole Porter, this is all June 9th. Cole Porter, composer, wrote the music and lyrics for most all of his work. 2 of the big ones were Begin the Beguine and Night and Day. Both, Ella sang both of them exquisitely. Was gay, but married for mutual advantages to both he and his wife.
Right.
So, she knew that he was gay and didn't care, but it helped her social status and it helped him to, Well,
because at the time it was
not looked upon. He was at 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
And then we have Jackie Mason.
Oh, dear. The Blue Aardvark.
The Blue Aardvark. And I only put that on here because of the irony, and we talked about that in the interview.
Yeah.
The Blue Aardvark.
Yeah.
James Newton Howard, film score composer as well as TV score composer. Oh, my gosh. Like a million things. Les Paul, musician and pioneer of the solid body guitar. And then we have Facebook friend and personal friend, Danny Roberts, who is the cartoonist and storyteller of Atomic Cattle Drive. Yes.
Yeah.
June 10th, Judy Garland, actress, gay icon. Interesting thing, she was born in 1922 and died on June the 22nd.
Oh, wow.
Her funeral was on June 27th and correlates to the Stonewall riots, which were on June 28th in New York City that sparked the gay rights movement. She even sang in a New York City gay bar.
Huh, of course she did.
Towards the end when she was desperate for money. But she was definitely the gay icon of the 50s and 60s. Hattie McDaniel, actress, Gone with the Wind, first African American woman, or African American period, to win an Oscar.
It was for Gone with the Wind, wasn't it?
Yes, it was for Gone as Mammy, Gone with the Wind. And she opened her home to other black actors and actresses when they would come to L.A. because there was a dearth of housing for black people in L.A. at that time. And a friend of ours, Alexander Davis, Alex Davis, he is the one that sold us our first Subaru.
That's right.
We're on number 5 now.
Yeah, look what you started, Alex.
Exactly. And Evo Terra, another podcaster, and then Barbara Dillon of Fanbase Press, who she and Bryant just celebrated their
wedding anniversary.
Yeah. June 11th, Gene Wilder, actor, many, many, many things.
Crazy man.
Lots of Mel Brooks films. Married to Gilda Radner. His favorite song, and this, I'm going to get choked up here, was Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh, really?
The Ella Fitzgerald version.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And according to his family, on his deathbed, the music player was set to random, and as it changed to this song, he smiled.
And he gave up the ghost.
Closed his eyes and peacefully passed away.
Oh, God, that's so heartbreaking.
Well, yeah. Also on June 11th, Christy Hartman, who we just heard from, Dr. Christy Hartman.
Yes.
And Jeff Lynne and Sharon Landis.
And we're talking, this is Jeff Lynne, filmmaker?
Yes.
Not Jeff Lynne of ELO.
No. Not Jeff Lynne of ELO, Jeff Lynne, filmmaker. And then Sharon Landis, who is the chair of the Arizona Opera Board. June 12th, Jim Nabors, actor, Andy Griffith's Show, Gomer Pyle, USMC. He was discovered doing a nightclub act singing in Hollywood. And he came out in 2013 at the age of 82. He died a couple of years later. He and his husband ran a macadamia nut farm in Honolulu.
Right.
And was Carol Burnett's good luck charm.
How about that?
Interesting. Richard Sherman, songwriter with his brother. Both of them worked for Disney. Mary Poppins, all of the songs in Mary Poppins, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and many, many other.
And tunes throughout Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom at Disney World.
Absolutely. June 13th, Paul Lynde, actor, gay man, Uncle Arthur on Bewitched, a staple of Hollywood Squares, the middle square on Hollywood Squares. And he did the Paul Lynde Halloween special.
Oh, my God. That is so tragic.
Oh, my God. It is tragic.
It's a train wreck.
He went to Northwestern University, and some of his classmates were Jeffrey Hunter.
No, really?
Cloris Leachman and Patricia Neal.
Ooh.
And you have a little story about that.
Well, we have a friend of ours named Al Lutz, and Al used to live in West Hollywood, and he was at this restaurant, and it's late at night. He's getting ready to leave. He crosses the street, and across the street from the restaurant is this sort of like it's a grocery store of sorts. And up pops, there's a limo there. And all of a sudden, out comes Paul Lynde wearing a caftan, and Al sees Paul, and Paul sees Al, and then Paul just simply says, "I have to feed the kitties."
And you told that on
I
Frank
told
DeCaro
that
show.
to Frank DeCaro, and Frank says, "Oh, I need that story to be true." I said, "Frank, honey, it is true. That is a true story." What was hilarious is that for about 2 or 3 months, that became a meme.
Have to feed the kitties.
People were just calling in saying, "I have to feed the kitties."
You were made famous.
For a short time.
Yep. Also on June 13th, Chris Evans, actor. He was in Fantastic Four.
As Johnny.
Yeah, yes. And what was his other
Oh,
role?
Please. Captain America.
Oh, that's right. Captain America, yes.
The part that he did not want to play, and I guess he was sort of badgered into it.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing he did, because I think that is the movie that set his career in motion.
Exactly. Huge supporter of the LGBTQ
His
plus
brother
population
Scott is gay.
community. And then we have James Clerk Maxwell, scientist. His theory of electromagnetism is described as the second great unification in physics. It married electricity and magnetism.
Right.
So then we have a good friend of ours and PR person, Mona El-Yafi. Happy birthday, Mona.
Happy birthday.
June 14th, Harry Turtledove, novelist, historical fiction. We met him at CocoCon last year, I believe. Was it last year?
Is it the last year or the year before?
Yeah, one or the other. And then we have Boy George, singer, Culture Club, struggled with drug abuse and is now sober. And then we have my cousin, my oldest cousin, Kathy Rippey Falconberry. Happy birthday, Kathy. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
Okay, we've got what's probably going to be the briefest feedback in show history. And this is all regarding one story. And that is News Sushi number 100 from Hamish Downey, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond. And it starts off with a comment from Hamish Downey saying, "Thank you so much for having me." Well, we are thrilled that you could be a part of the TG Geeks family, Hamish. We love what you've done for us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Love the News Sushis, and we love the 5 questions that you do. Got a comment then from Tommy Cannon, who, and this is in regards to the Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond, so you'll probably want to read the link to that, which we will have in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com. And he says, "Butt detectives," as in B-U-T-T, butt detectives. Love it. And then we got 2 comments from people on Twitter. First from Chris Watt. He says, "Congratulations on your 100th column." And from Richard Lee, who also says, "Congrats." And that is our feedback for today.
If you want to leave a comment on anything that we publish, whether it be an episode or whether it be an article, you can do that on our Facebook page, because we publish everything to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or on our page, tggeeks.com. You can do that on the article or on the episode. And if you feel like it, you can give us a call and leave us a voicemail, and we'll play that on air. You can call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. As everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, or writers, or others. Please support independent creators by going to their websites, their Etsy sites, their Amazon pages, wherever you can find them. Look at their stuff, buy their stuff, tell other people about their stuff, and support independent creators in any way that you can. The Joshua Tree Feeding Program is a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They offer a wide assortment of nutritional foods for the clients to take home, and they set it up as a store so that they can pick and choose what they want. They don't get just a box of food. It empowers them to take only what they want, and so no food is wasted. And they could certainly use your support. You can go to jtfp.org and give a monthly recurring gift or a singular gift. Please support Joshua Tree Feeding Program. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Well, in this, our second segment, I just have a special comment, and I'm just going to read it here. We're really not going to discuss it. It's just a statement. We have a policy here at TG Squared Studios and the Two Gay Geeks as individuals that we try to stay away from the two big P's, and that's politics and porn. But I want to talk about something that transcends politics, and it is more about being a decent human being. The murder, and that's what it was, of George Floyd was uncalled for on so many levels. I'm not interested in hearing from either side that George Floyd was a criminal or that the police officer has multiple violence complaints. Murder is murder. And unfortunately, in the U.S. today, the murder of black men is and has been out of control for many, many years. Racism is rampant in the U.S. now, that white supremacy is sadly becoming commonplace. I don't pretend to be a perfect person, and I admit I grew up where racism was the norm. I've grown, and I had to unlearn some racist behavior and thinking. Change can happen if you have an open mind. We at TG Squared Studios are angry and overwhelmed by the inhumanity of so many law enforcement agencies. We stand with the Black Lives Matter folks in calling for the cessation of violent tactics against black people. This will not be an easy road to walk down, but the conversation must be started to bring about a systemic change in policy across the U.S. And yes, I said Black Lives Matter. I don't want to hear anyone spout the BS all lives matter mean? That is racist in itself. I saw a meme recently that said, if you were grieving your child, expressing how talented they were, and that you miss them, and someone interrupts you and says, all children matter, well, then how would you feel about that? It's utter garbage, so don't even try it. And don't get me started on the one bad apple to describe a police officer. If you're going to use a quote, use the entire quote. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch. We, as part of the LGBT community here at TG Squared Studios, stand with our black brothers and sisters in calling for change now.
Well said. I guess this is our time for the weekly review.
Yes.
And all of these things that I'm going to read here will be featured as links in the notes for this episode at tggeeks.com. Starting with Sunday, May 31st, Dr. Zombie Monster Family Physician number 102. On Monday, June 1st, TG Geeks episode number 276. On Tuesday the 2nd, Night of the Living Dead and Killer Clowns from Outer Space invade frightrags.com. On Wednesday, June 3rd, Ben's Breakdown, Look to the Skies in the Vast of Night. Oh my God.
Wow.
I loved that movie.
It was great.
It was wonderful. On Thursday, June 4th, Tell Me I Love You by Fiona McKenzie is a fluid love story for a new generation, and it's available on VOD June 2nd. On Friday, June 5th, 5 Questions with Mirror Box Films. And we close out the week, Saturday, June 6th, Ben's Gay Breakdown, We're Here, shows the true power of drag.
Well, also on Friday, we posted that HBO
Oh, that's
renewed,
right. HBO did renew. I'm sorry, I didn't catch
We're
that. Yeah.
Here for a second season.
That's right, they did.
Yes.
I missed that. You're right.
And you can find all these things at tggeeks.com, as well as our entries on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Please visit and comment. I did want to say something that we're kind of watching Space Force right now.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God. What crazy.
That series is nuts. I didn't think I was going to like it.
I didn't either.
Because
Steve Carell can go a little
really
bit and
alienate
can go
me.
a long way.
And, but he's not an unlikable character. I mean, he's a doofus, but he's a good man.
Yeah.
Completely good man. And I can't go wrong with John Malkovich. I love that guy. I mean, he's so odd that any role he plays is a fun thing to watch. But yeah, we've just finished episode 6 earlier today, and I am enjoying it. I mean, it's a silly show at times, but I think it's delightful.
Exactly.
And it's just the right satirical points too.
Exactly.
Have to give a couple of shout-outs. First to the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News for republishing our content from time to time. That is put out by the human Arkle Brian Weber. And you can find the Post-Dispatch News by finding him on Twitter. Do that by searching for Arkle, at ARKLE. And also, he is on YouTube. He has Arkle Studios there, and he's kind of wrapped up his shameless cash grab for this season number 4, and he started a new series, Rants vs. Zombies, number 14, season 5. The wrap-up of season 4, Shameless Cash Grab, as I said, has already posted, and he's continuing to play Trick and Treat the game, and he's on episode 4. Also, we must give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for also allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, to Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to their moderators for literally saying that we can share away our content. Their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours, all one word. And then to The Gay Geek for allowing us to do the same. And the URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we must give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, and just about every place, even places that I don't even know about at this point, or where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays. Listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can listen to our episode because it's audio only, and you can surf the internet on your device. Do two things at once. How about that? Did I have any? No, I ran out of script. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay home. Stay safe. Peace.
Cheers.